More than 200 guns intended for Mexican cartels are off the streets this morning after federal.
Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security is sharing new pictures and details following this weekend's arrest of more than
Even before dawn, the silence of Texas and Southern California was torn apart by the thunder of battering rams. Federal agents simultaneously stormed two bunker-style compounds hidden deep in the desert and in the suburbs. What looked like ordinary storage buildings turned out to be black market arsenals, cartel fortresses with armed towers, underground corridors, and stockpiles capable of turning any city into a kill zone. The investigation had been running for over a year. The first clues surfaced after a series of suspicious transactions leading to weapons deliveries for intermediaries linked to Venezuelan cartels. The trail of money and containers brought investigators to two key nodes in the smuggling routes: the outskirts of El Paso, Texas, and the industrial zone of San Bernardino in Southern California. Both locations have long been considered quiet corridors, places where warehouses look abandoned and trucks arrive and leave without questions. But this time, the scale was unprecedented. The underground network included hangar-class storage facilities, living modules, underground tunnels, and satellite points across Arizona and Nevada. Federal agents now describe the operation as the largest weapons takedown in the past decade, a direct strike on a network capable of arming cartels at the level of small armies. One of the key figures turned out to be a former U.S. Army contractor, a specialist who officially worked in private security, but off the record, coordinated shipments of military-grade equipment into Latin America. His name first surfaced in an anonymous tip sent to federal agents more than a year ago. The letter described strange night deliveries, sealed warehouses with reinforced security, and a man in uniform visiting the sites under the guise of a consultant. That message became the starting point of a large-scale investigation. The case was taken over by a joint FBI-DEA-HSI task force, reinforced by cybersecurity and financial tracking experts. It took agents several months to stealthily penetrate the group's digital channels. They set up wiretaps, infiltrated encrypted chat rooms, conducted controlled buys, and traced a stream of crypto payments constantly moving through private wallets and offshore brokers. Gradually, a structure resembling a transnational corporation began to take shape. Cryptocurrency payments broken into dozens of microtransactions, falsified export declarations filed as shipments of industrial spare parts, shell companies registered under front identities in Texas, Panama, and Curaçao, couriers moving equipment samples hidden inside double-walled containers. The entire system functioned like a single logistics engine designed to move out of the United States military components strictly restricted under federal export controls. The former contractor acted as the coordinator between U.S. technical suppliers and buyers in Venezuela and Colombia, posing as private security entities. In reality, they were cartel representatives seeking not just weapons, but high-precision optics, targeting systems, ballistic plates, and complex electronic modules used to upgrade small arms. Investigators determined that over the past 18 months, shipments labeled as electrical stabilizers, engineering sensors, and humanitarian kits had been moving through his channels. In reality, the containers carried parts for automatic rifles, mechanisms for reconnaissance drones, and components for machine guns prohibited from export without special authorization. Intelligence work progressed slowly but methodically. For more than 6 months, agents monitored the sites using hidden cameras and drones, logged truck movements, and analyzed financial streams. Every detail mattered. The criminals left virtually no trace. Payments ran through anonymized crypto mixers. Documents were generated by software capable of mimicking templates from multiple countries, and couriers changed routes 12 to 16 hours before departure. The breakthrough came from a minor detail caught by analysts. One of the shell companies suddenly increased its volume of imported electronic sensors 14-fold in just 3 months. The shipments were headed to a warehouse in Southern California where, agents discovered, an underground level had been built with concealed bays for equipment disassembly. That discrepancy became the critical signal. The operation was accelerating, and the network was preparing a major shipment. When a decrypted audio file confirmed that the northern corridor must be cleared by Tuesday, the command center realized this is when the load moves. Within hours, federal agencies gave the green light for a synchronized strike. Thus, a small anonymous report grew into the largest exposure in years of an armed smuggling network that operated almost like an autonomous cartel, borderless, untouchable, and with military precision. After breaking into the warehouses and underground hangars, agents saw not just contraband, but a fully formed military criminal complex.
On metal racks lay automatic rifles, crates of explosives, portable anti-tank rocket systems, dozens of ballistic vests, optical sights, and, in separate compartments, advanced communication systems capable of operating through jamming and interference. The total mass of the seized goods exceeded 15 tons. Part of the shipment had already been disassembled, repackaged, and prepared for transport toward the southern border within the next 48 hours. But the weapons were only one layer of this multi-tiered enterprise. The investigation showed that the group operated like a cartel subdivision in which every direction, narcotics, weapons, human smuggling, financial operations, and technological contraband, functioned as parts of a single economic cycle, each reinforcing the others. Chemicals and finished pills arrived from Mexico and Central America. In underground rooms in Texas, agents discovered compact lab modules where fentanyl was mixed with adulterants and pressed into counterfeit pills. These were not full-scale cartel kitchens, but mini workshops designed for a steady output, enough to maintain the local market and finance other operations. The potential number of lethal doses reached into the hundreds of thousands. 2. Weapons. The main commodity consisted of military components purchased under the guise of American defense subcontractors, or written off as worn equipment. The contractor coordinated acquisitions, while shell companies processed export documents as if they were industrial parts. Weapons were then moved to desert warehouses, sorted, labeled, and prepared for shipment to Venezuelan and Colombian intermediaries. 3. Harboring migrants and human trafficking. During the raids, agents found several dozen migrants held in hidden rooms. They were forced to work in logistics, loading, packaging, cleaning labs. Some women were sold or handed to cartel overseers as a form of debt bondage. This ensured cheap labor and absolute silence. The victims were terrified to flee or speak. 4. Financing and crypto economy. All accounts operated through cryptocurrency. Payments were split into hundreds of microtransactions, pushed through mixers, and sent to wallets tied to offshore brokers. Cash from drug sales was partially converted into USDT and partially reinvested in black imports. The system generated profit on everything: weapons, migrant smuggling, pill production, and technology reselling. 5. Technological contraband. Inside sealed containers, agents found drone components, stabilization systems, and electronic modules from the defense sector, the kind typically used in communication systems and UAVs. These were export-controlled items that cartels resold to foreign security forces or private paramilitary groups. 6. The logistics chain. Who did what? Suppliers. U.S. and international companies unaware they were selling equipment through civilian intermediaries. Mixers and packers. Mini labs creating finished narcotics and dismantling weapons for shipping. Distributors. Couriers from Mexico and Panama who moved assembled shipments toward cartels. Financiers. crypto operators and corrupt brokers pushing money into shadow pipelines. Coordinators, cartel enforcers, and former military personnel who controlled product quality and departure schedules. The scheme was dangerous not only because of its scale and arsenal. It combined multiple criminal industries that strengthened one another. Drugs brought quick cash. Weapons gave cartels power. Human trafficking provided labor. Technological smuggling opened access to international buyers, where profits multiplied tenfold. Together, this created a self-sustaining criminal cycle capable of running for years, until a synchronized federal strike shattered it in a single-night raid. Preparation for the operation began long before the first assault teams moved toward the suspected warehouses. For several weeks, federal agents modeled dozens of scenarios, anticipating everything from armed resistance to escape attempts through underground tunnels. More than 200 personnel, including elite units from FBI HRT, ATF SRT, HSI Special Response Teams, and tactical groups from local police, were brought under a unified command network. Planning took place under strict isolation. Analysts created a detailed assault blueprint, camera locations, possible booby traps, doors with electronic locks, ventilation shafts, even guard shift schedules. Meanwhile, special teams trained on a mock-up of the facility, a full-scale reconstruction of the main warehouse built inside a hangar at a border patrol base. Local police were tasked with perimeter security and road closures. ATF oversaw detonation risks involving explosives, while HRT prepared for a potential hostage scenario, after intelligence confirmed that migrants might be held inside. The key decision on day and time was made after intercepting information about a major incoming shipment scheduled to arrive in Texas within 48 hours. Analysts concluded that if the criminals managed to repack the load and push it forward, the network would disappear into the shadows again for months. An additional concern was the risk that the veteran coordinator, the mastermind behind logistics, could sense surveillance and vanish. Therefore, Command authorized a synchronized dawn strike at the precise moment when security would be least alert and civilian movement minimal. At that exact minute, convoys of armored vehicles rolled out, support helicopters lifted off, and assault teams took positions around 2 primary and 3 auxiliary targets. Armed guards, mostly former military personnel and contractors recruited through private security firms, attempted to resist during the first minutes of the assault. But after precision breaching charges, blocked exits, and pressure from 3 directions, most surrendered once they saw the overwhelming advantage of federal tactical units. The primary coordinator was captured in an underground command room, still holding a tablet with encrypted chats open, including messages from contacts in Venezuela. During the sweep, agents seized large quantities of narcotics, over 42 kilograms of fentanyl in powder and pill form, along with precursors sufficient to manufacture at least 300,000 additional pills. Experts estimated the potential number of lethal doses at 8 to 10 million, depending on purity. From the weapons cache, agents recovered more than 15 tons of materiel. AR and AK platform rifles, machine guns, anti-tank rocket systems, grenade launchers, crates of C4, optical sights, reconnaissance drones, 260 ballistic vests, and military communication modules, several of which are subject to U.S. export controls. The financial segment of the seizures included more than $1.7 million in cash, some of it hidden in double-walled safes, and dozens of cold crypto wallets. According to initial estimates, they contained up to $6.5 million in BTC, USDT, and Monero. Investigators also uncovered an extensive system of forged documents, passports, visa templates, cargo declarations, security licenses, equipment origin certificates. More than 400 falsified documents produced using a dedicated printing module. In technical rooms, agents seized 5 servers containing encrypted operational logs, money transfer schemes, GPS tracks of couriers, and contact data in Panama,
Venezuela, and Colombia. Additionally, they found satellite phones, frequency-hopping radios, laptops with wiped SSDs, and portable encryption devices. As for personnel, 24 trafficked migrants were being held inside, forced to work on logistics. On site, agents arrested 11 couriers, 4 warehouse coordinators, and 2 crypto operations specialists. Victims were transferred to social services and interpreters. Detainees were handed over to federal prosecutors. During the searches, investigators seized hundreds of pages of documentation, crypto records, and electronic logs detailing the weapons pipeline into South America. Client lists included at least 3 groups linked to Venezuelan narco-trafficking organizations. Analysts noted that the scale of the trade had been concealed for years behind the facade of civilian companies, legitimate business licenses, and cross-border logistics. According to federal agents, the scheme was especially dangerous because it fused military technology, narcotics, crypto-based financing, and human exploitation. This wasn't just smuggling. This was a parallel black market force operating like an army in the shadows, said one of the operations commanders. Another added, "Today, we cut the backbone of a network that stayed invisible for years." Why did it run for so long? Investigators point to 3 factors: strict compartmentalization of operations, the use of legitimate companies as cover, and constant rotation of personnel, all of which made the network highly resistant to detection. Criminals also relied heavily on crypto payments and encryption, complicating financial tracking. The network was exposed thanks to a combination of traditional intelligence, cyber forensics, and a critical criminal error: a sudden surge in falsified import declarations that drew analysts' attention. From there, the investigation expanded into a full-scale, multi-state operation. Federal agencies emphasized that today's raids are only the beginning of a broader campaign against transnational weapons logistics networks. The case has already been classified as a national security threat, and investigators compare it to the largest operations of the past decade, including fentanyl chain dismantlements and cartel component interdictions. "We didn't just stop a shipment," DOJ officials stated. "We changed the rules of the game."